Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, episode 205.
What?
I'm Chris, and joining me as usual are...
Ames.
Caitlin.
And me, Jake.
That one. That Jake.
And today we are looking at Children of Time and Blaze of Glory.
Chris gets the good week after the crap from last week. God damn it.
I have literally already forgotten what last week was.
There was a stupid Ferengi thing.
Okay, yep.
And there was a stupid Klingon thing.
The Klingon thing was fine. Jesus.
Yeah. We talked about it last week. I got very distracted, I remember.
I'm still forgetting what the Klingon thing was.
It was
Martok gets his groove back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was alright.
But not his eye.
And of course I was, me.
No,
like
his eye's gone.
one.
It's never coming back.
There is a decided lack of, there is basically at most a cameo Ferengi this week, and some Klingons. So, First up, in Children of Time, the Defiant is coming back from a week-long scouting mission in the...
Oh, God!
First up, in Children of Time, the Defiant is coming back from a week-long scouting mission of the Gamma Quadrant, damn it. Not doing another take. And,
now you have to keep all that.
Shit. They're going back to DS9, and they're all talking about, oh man, I can't wait to, get a nice bath, I can't wait to jerk off in my own bed, etc. But then while they're on
in
their...
a bed? Just, you need to sleep in it. That's horrible.
And they're, but while they're on their way, Jadzia notices a planet with some wibbly-wobbly bullshit wibbly-wobbling around it. And she's like, Ben, I want to look at it. And Ben is like, ugh, fine. And they go to look at it, and then everything goes wrong. Kira gets zapped and Xeroxed. And they're like, well, we're going to just kind of chill out in orbit here while we try to get things fixed. But it's like, hey, we're getting hailed. And there's, settlements and, 8,000 people. And they turn on the screen, and people are like, hi, Ben, good to see you. Come on down for some coffee and a guilt trip.
Oh, wait, you're trying to drink less Ractogino, aren't you?
Yes. So, they beam down, and it turns out that in 2 days or something, when the Defiant goes to leave, it is going to bounce off a temporal doodly-what's-it, crash into the planet 200 years in the past, and thus establish this little colony here. There's a new Dax who explains all this. We meet a bunch of O'Briens, and we are told...
with the potato-shaped heads, too.
Yep, we are told there are apparently, of the 8,000 inhabitants, 7,000 are descended from Bashir.
He's a real Genghis Khan.
Yep. And, they're like, but don't worry, Ben. We know how to keep our timeline intact and let you go home. If you bounce off the temporal hoodly-what's-it this way... The Defiant will duplicate just like Kira did for a second. One will crash and one will go home.
2 Rikers, 2 bridges.
Yes. Oh, and P.S. the Kira that stays on the planet dies because her brain melts.
Aw.
During all this, Odo is in a bucket because something about the energy around the planet means he can't hold his form. But then, oh shit, 200 years later, Odo shows up and is like, Kira, I learned to hold my form better and I'm slightly better at faces. P.S. The asshole in the bucket really wants to pork you, but won't say.
I mean, he does too.
Yeah.
I feel like you delegitimize his love by being so crass about it. He's like, I've loved you for 200 years.
Okay,
He did it. He loved her so much he did a genocide.
Right, but also...
Wow.
One half of the fisting duo, doesn't get to call me out on crassness.
Fair.
Moving forward. So yes, doing a genocide, what do you mean, Jake? Well, what Jake means is, they realize new Dax was lying, and there was no way to duplicate the Defiant, and he was basically going to make them crash. Of course, they wouldn't have been the wiser, because they would have assumed a version of them was out there somewhere. But luckily, earlier Dax figures it out, and they confront new Dax. And he's like, I've been feeling guilty for 200 years. Also, 8,000 lives versus 48 Vulcan shit. And,
Jesus, also, they said 8,000 lives so many times, it felt like a fucking, a really lame, Columbo villain trying to establish a fucking alibi.
True.
What time is it? 8,000 people. What time is it? 8,000 people. Or what time did I ask you about the time? 8,000 people? Well.
So, they're like, look, we're sorry, but, like, we have lives, and we're gonna live them, and, TS. But then they spend some time with the colonists and start to feel bad, and Kira's like, I believe I should only have one destiny, and apparently I've decided I'm supposed to be dead here. And the last holdout is O'Brien, and even he stupidly gives in.
Because the girl's name was Molly, and no other reason.
Pretty much.
That's literally it.
Oh yeah, and there's some, like, Klingon cosplayers who eventually do some gardening. And the crew is like, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna have the accident. We're gonna, since we know it's coming, though, we'll record some logs and shoot them out of a probe to tell our families that we're abandoning them for this bullshit. But then, as they are heading for the temporal hoodly, they're all programmed in. The ship suddenly veers off course, and everyone's like, "What happened?" And they assume that it was
Dax.
Yeah, New Dax who did it. Out of a last-minute feeling of, like, actually wait. But it turns out it was Oldo and his boner.
Oldo.
Who broke into the system and was like, fuck this noise, I love Kira. And apparently went off and linked with himself, which is weird.
Masturbation.
Yeah. And was like, hey, young doe, it's Oldo. How you doing? I just killed 8,000 people for Kira. Ciao.
Okay, but it's... No.
Well, we'll discuss.
It wasn't even that, though. It wasn't even... He told Young Doe that he wanted Kira to know. Like, he thought that she would be impressed.
Odo doesn't get love. He doesn't even after 200 more years, he still has no idea what love is.
Yeah. I want to know what love is.
Do you?
And I want you to tell me.
Nope.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the next line. So yeah, that's the episode in a nutshell.
Yeah, and the Oldo plot is kind of like where this whole idea came from, because like the writers, ever since fucking The Collaborator, when they saw that glimmer in like Odo's eyes, like kind of like Kira, don't I? Yes. Oh, but this is complicated. They decided, and I have a quote in my book here. I'll just read the quote in my book about the moment in The Collaborator. At that moment, you realize that Odo's in love with Kira, and I thought, but we have no idea how old Odo is, so if he's in his early development, it might be a long time before he can admit to those kinds of feelings. So I wondered, how can I get an older Odo into a story? And the answer was time travel. Which is a little bit strange, because obviously, like, you can't really look at Odo like the same kind of thing, the same kind of process you'd have for a humanoid thing developing feelings of love, because he's such a different thing.
Yeah.
Like, I totally believe Odo in his present state can experience and grow to understand some semblance of love. And do it in a very beautiful and nice way.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a but there. Is there a but?
I don't know if there's a but.
He'll have a butt if he wants to have a butt.
True.
Because he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, his new look was good.
Yeah.
I didn't care for the hair.
Well, just making it look more natural.
Impressive.
Yeah, I know. I just didn't like it. But I did love seeing more of his face and having it be, like, showing that he has improved with time. And
yeah. And there's still some prosthetics there, so he's still, recognizably Odo.
Apparently they reused the face that they gave him when he was Kurzodo, and then made some adjustments.
I kind of wondered if that was the case, because I was getting big Curzon energy from the look.
It is an interesting sort of idea, like the whole concept of knowing, you have this bizarre choice to make, and it's like, it's I guess if it was real, it would be a tough thing. Like, my initial instinct, of course, is just like, yeah, no, fuck these people, because I'm a selfish prick. But I don't know if I could actually, like, look them in the eyes and tell them that.
Yeah, especially when so many of them look like you and have your name.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the moment that, it sort of turns is when O'Brien is talking to little Molly, and she's like, oh, can I meet your daughter, Molly? And O'Brien's like, maybe. And
He's like,
all I can think of is like, and that's like that's the moment when it turned in his head, and the only reason I could imagine that happening is because she reminded him that he's going to have to go back to Keiko.
Nice.
I actually made a
Well
similar
done.
joke while we were watching it. I was like, wow, he's the only one married to Keiko, and yet he's the only one who wants to go back? The fuck?
That's the thing, though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm with the chief. It's like, I don't want to purposely crash and live this shitty agrarian life.
Well, O'Brien says this thing that's kind of very typically O'Brien. Like, sometimes it's very hard for me to like O'Brien because he wears his I'm kind of racist and don't care for people who aren't me on his sleeve. When he says, like, these people will die, but I don't know these people, so fuck it? Jesus, Miles.
But
what
they're
the
not,
fuck?
But they're not really dying. I mean, that's the issue I take with this whole episode. No one's dying. It's not like they have to shoot every one of them in the face and then leave.
I mean,
They
Worf
just
might.
cease being. It doesn't mean that they're dead. They never existed.
Is that worse? That's kind of the equivalent to death.
I don't know.
It's
Not
such an
really. In my
interesting
opinion,
idea.
it sort of isn't. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the quandary of this episode, is it makes you think of these things that are, like, such deep sci-fi, like, such a good, like, way to do a time travel episode, because we've had some fucking clunkers. And in fact, this episode was pitched in, like, season 3, but they were like, we're doing so much time travel already, not fucking now.
Yeah,
but
it's
this
nice
is
to have
such
like a good
one.
time travel self-contained.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a terrific episode, but it is not one with easy answers.
And that's what makes good sci-fi.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you really have to, like, think about all the different elements, of which there are very, very many.
Yeah.
Like, I do love seeing 200 years added Odo and seeing what his experience is, because they cut a whole bunch of Odo scenes, evidently, which is kind of a shame of him
What the
saying,
fuck?
like...
What a waste.
I know.
They had that-
You mean we had to watch that fucking bullshit in the fields with O'Brien and Molly, but we lost Odo? Fuck that.
Yeah, that
I
makes, like,
know.
I remember even remarking, because, like,
Oh yeah, they were doing so much.
the
tree
planting
planting, so
montage
much.
was so long.
Yeah,
I
that's
literally
true.
said, did this episode run short?
He did
This
say
montage,
that.
like, other than that, I loved the episode, but it really did feel like I get showing some of it because it's necessary, but some of it also felt like padding.
A little bit, I'd agree with that. Like, I loved watching, like, the first, like, moment of the planting and seeing,
Yeah.
like, oh man, there is some really great symbolism here.
Totally.
Apparently, they originally meant for it to be a harvest scene instead of a planting scene, but they also were filming in, I want to say, like, January, so there was nothing to harvest. So they turned it into a planting scene, but it's also like, it's a new beginning. It's like
Yeah, it
leaving
actually works
something
better.
when you're dying. It's really cool.
Yeah, no,
But yeah, I agree.
it's better symbolically
Yeah, but
than
too
a
long.
harvest.
Too long, and it meant we didn't
Yeah.
get to see more Odo telling us, like, in 200 years, these are the experiences I've had. I've watched all my friends die, except
Yeah.
kind of, sort of Dax.
Yeah, I was thinking that at one point. Like, you don't really see Dax and him interact at all, which is funny because they're the only two who have been there since the offing.
You don't see him interact
in
with
Dax
anyone.
with a sense.
I don't
No,
think
that's true.
Oldo interacts with anyone but
I-
Kira, does he?
I'm guessing though that he's some kind of a recluse, that he
Oh,
just
yeah.
like
Mm,
separates himself from the crowd and only shows up because the others, he knew that this was the day that they were going to be there.
Yeah,
The
they
Odo, you
established
mean?
that. They would have established
Yeah.
that in the cutscenes, that he just lives on his own because he
Yeah,
watched all
he's-
his friends die.
Yeah.
See, that would have been nice to know.
Yeah, that would have been good.
I mean,
Like, there's
I
surely
got that
something.
impression from how he was introduced. We see all the other settlers, and then Odo doesn't show up until a little later.
Yeah,
He only shows up to talk to Kira,
yeah.
and
So
he's
it would
not
have
at
been
the planting
like,
either.
Fucking, I don't know, cut the math class scene, even though virtual Quark, the math teacher, is funny.
Oh, I did like that.
I
that was
liked
a good
that
touch.
a lot.
Yeah.
And I love that Jadzia specifically programmed it to be like, you know what, we have this footage of Quark, and I guess we kind of miss Quark, right? It'd be nice to see his face.
Yeah, but imagine like what the people on this planet, must think. Like, what the fuck is that? What's wrong with his head?
Yeah, because they don't know anything other than
Why are his ears so large?
humans,
Well, not-
Klingons, and Trill, right?
Yeah, and I had a thought on the Klingons too. So you notice that I don't know if any of the Klingons, the sons of Moog, are actual descendants of Worf.
I think
Yeah.
one is. I think
Well,
Torvin
The
is.
main guy.
The guy who looks like he got some ridges.
So there was a guy who had like lumps on his forehead,
Yeah,
but they looked
ridges
less like ridges and more like we haven't gotten to her yet, but the weird bumps Naomi Wildman has.
Yeah,
in
that's
Voyager.
what I was thinking.
Well, okay, here's my question. How many generations have we had where we've been breeding these people together?
Well, so that's the other thing, too. So, okay, first of all,
some of these
I want to see
generations
some
don't make
Punnett
sense.
squares with fucking head ridges because all of the, with the possible exception of that one guy, shouldn't, presumably, I mean, unless Worf died and, like, Jadzia remarried, none of the Trill that we see look remotely Klingon.
True.
So, or maybe the other thing too is though they had to be fucking rabbits on this planet to get up to 8,000. What did they say? They started with 48.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're up to
8,200
8,000.
years.
So
as I said, 7,000 are descended directly from Julian.
That's
exactly,
true.
that explains it.
See, every
like
time
that-
you start that joke, I expect it to end with O'Brien because he's Irish.
Ah,
You know?
and they're all named Molly.
all of
And
them.
they all look like hobbits.
God, Julian was weird though, wasn't he? Like, I kept getting the impression that he wanted to fuck all his descendants.
Kinda.
And it's like,
I mean, at that point,
with
I mean,
this
you
many
probably
generations,
You probably can at that point. There's it's so distant.
yeah, it's still like, it's a Julian
Well, it's
bullshit.
the next best thing to fucking his grandmother or
Yep.
whatever. So we already know this is his kink, is like fucking his family members.
Oh, he's the
So-
weirdest man.
But maybe it isn't family members. Maybe it's all some sort of narcissism. Like he really wants to just be able to fuck himself, but these are the next best thing
That sounds right.
somehow.
You think he kept a copy of the LMH?
Yes.
I wonder if
Ooh.
his gene editing was germline or not.
I was kind of wondering that myself.
Like, because
What would that mean?
So there's two types of gene editing that you can do. You can either there's germline gene editing where you basically are editing the DNA that's in the reproductive system so that your whatever those edits are will carry into the next generation. But then there's also just like editing the DNA of a person, like with gene therapy, and then it doesn't affect future generations.
Oh,
so
that is interesting.
presumably the gene editing that he had was not germline because that's much more frowned upon, at least today, than germline editing.
but yeah, depending on how it was done, his descendants could be...
They're
you know.
morons.
Huh?
They're just morons. They're idiots.
Well, no, if they hadn't, though, like, if it was, he may have passed on his super genes.
That's true. So that's an interesting question for future debate. But yeah. So no, I actually went online. I went and found a population growth calculator, and I
Did
don't,
you?
Yeah, I don't know if this is true because the growth rate of that population over 200 years to go from 48 to 8,000 would be like 2.5% per year, which is much higher than really the highest growth rate on Earth ever.
Wow, on Earth.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like the
Even after
the,
like a
I mean,
war
the
or
one
something.
source I found said that the growth rate was highest between the 50s through until the 70s.
Yeah, the baby boom.
Yeah. And at that point, it got up to like 2.1% in the late 60s.
Wow.
But yeah, 2.5% over 200 years is
The
pretty
other
impressive.
thing about the generation stuff that bugged me was like, oh, this is your great. It's like, it's only been 200 years. Calm down. Like, you didn't need that many greats.
Well, and especially if people are living like 120 plus years.
Well,
then, too.
they don't have access to their crazy future medicine, so their life expectancy may have dropped to more
but it's
reasonable levels.
that could also contribute to the growth rate is if the fertility rate, people remain fertile longer.
Maybe. That's the thing, we don't know exactly how long they're living now, or their fertility rate, or this or that, but still, it still seems like they had too many greats tacked onto some of these names.
Maybe
Well, like
it
you
was
say,
just a
Irish.
joke.
Back to the House of Moog stuff, though.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
They weren't all actually biologically Klingon.
correct.
Right.
That's what we're
Right.
saying. We're wondering.
We weren't
Yeah.
even
I
thinking
thought
at
maybe
all.
the main, like the guy that was kind of the main one might be, because he just looked like a TOS Klingon to me.
Yeah, he kind of had like Worf's hair and beard thing going on.
Well, hair and beard are things you can control.
That is true.
Yeah,
I
we
didn't
see
think
little
the
Gabriel-
lady didn't look particularly Klingon.
No.
No, she looked like she was completely human.
And I don't think Gabriel is a
No.
Klingon, and it's because it sounds like you can just choose to become Klingon at some age.
It's like being a Mandalorian.
It's
Yeah.
a creed, not a race.
I noticed that one of the animals that they referred to, one of their hunts, was for a Yar bear, and I couldn't help but wonder if that was named after Tasha Yar.
Aw, probably not. Only Worf. Well, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
And say Worf, if
knew
Worf
Yar.
is like, there's a cool bear I can fight, I'm gonna name it after my old boss.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I enjoy that. Let's go with that.
I hadn't even thought of it.
Neither did I, but I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does make you wonder, because they did establish that Worf and Jadzia did get married on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like you said, Jake, Ames, one of you said it, like, the Trill we see don't seem to have any Klingon in them.
And the spots are very clear, even on, so Yedrin has very clear spots. We see
His
a
aren't
young
that
girl
clear.
with clear spots.
Well, they are, like, definitely, like, they're there, but they're also, like, different from hers. Like, they do seem like...
They're fewer.
Yeah, they're trying to imply
More
that...
dispersed.
Yeah. But then, like, so at what point did Worf go off and say, fuck it, I'm gonna start my weird little Church of Kling?
Maybe when Jadzia became whomever came after Jadzia.
Oh, maybe. Because Klingons, we know, tend to live even longer. So, like, you figure even without access to 24th century medicine, even just naturally, he's going to outlive most of the humanoids.
Well, unless he gets maimed by a Yar bear, in which case...
Whoa, and one of Jadzia's kids must have taken... Like, it must have been passed on to all the kids, right?
Yeah, unless
The
there was
symbiote?
other Trill on Defiant that just
I guess that's
joined.
possible, because we don't see
know.
all 48.
Possible, but I doubt it.
We don't even see the woman Miles apparently hooks up with. We never even see her. Rita Tannenbaum.
Which,
Yeah.
like, P.S., I love how fucking defensive he was about it.
Yeah.
Like, he secretly already kind of wanks to her.
No.
No, he doesn't.
No, he absolutely does.
No, he does not.
I can't imagine him being so defensive if not. It just feels like he got caught in, like, a dirty secret.
You know what he does? You know what he does when he's wanking to her? He goes, "Oh, Tannenbaum."
I don't like Jake.
That's I want to hate that joke, but I kind of like it. Like, you're the worst, and I love you. But it did seem, though, when they said, like, that he was the last holdout, that seemed, like, correct, you know?
He's a
He would
stubborn
definitely be-
brat.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I could also see him, like, he has, some old-fashioned ideas, and I feel like in his mind, even though there's no hope of getting home, he would still feel like
You have
moving
to-
on
Yeah. You
with
have to,
his life would be disloyal.
You also, if you're deciding, like, we're going to establish a population here that is meant to last, we need more people in the gene pool. Even if that means we're all going to have potato heads.
I wonder what the gender breakdown of the crew of the Defiant is.
I would guess close to 50-50.
Presumably.
I feel like they do a pretty good job of that.
Man, and just more proof that I don't even think it's Cisco at this point. I think just Avery Brooks loves babies.
He does.
He really
Yeah.
does.
Because he's got that scene with that kid, and that was not acting. That man just loves babies.
It was cute. I love that Cisco loves babies.
What did sort of work out really well, and it wasn't planned because you can't tell babies what to do. There is the scene where he's on comms with somebody, and the baby just happens to look up, and Brooks ran with it and looked up with him, like, yeah, ship up there. And I was like, that's a good ad lib, Avery.
Nice.
Stupid baby.
Tricks are for
really
kids.
cute baby.
Miles got in a pretty good dig at Worf in one scene when they were having the fight.
Yes!
About,
I
and,
forgot.
Worf was like, I can't remember what was said, but at one point O'Brien was like, "It's easy for you to say. You never even see your son.
He did.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
You just shipped your son off to Earth, you piece of shit."
The show
like-
knows. The show knows what a bad dad Worf is.
But
Yep.
it's so nice to hear it kind of finally sort of acknowledged in canon.
And Worf didn't even take umbrage with it. He was just like,
Nope.
"Eh,
He's like,
yeah,
"That-
fair,
no,
that's fair."
He's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
He's
you're
a-
right. By
Yep.
design, I never see that little fuck.
He's a better dad to all these fake Klingons on Gaia than to his own child.
Well, that's
Yep.
because they've made him proud.
Yeah.
Alexander never has.
I killed a
There's
Yar
nothing but
bear.
disappointment.
I kind of wanted them to have more of something to do. I mean, denying them a warrior's death was interesting, but it lasted a half a second.
Yeah.
But also,
Yeah,
there was a lot going on this episode. I don't know how much more you would even want to add.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm assuming, though, that off screen he actually did go through with it.
No, we see them later.
I know, but he told them that he would do it if they came to him the following day.
Well,
I'm guessing
they came to
between
him
the time
and
they did
harvested.
the planting and when the ship left, he killed all 3 of them.
Oh, okay,
They
that's fine.
defeated the enemy that was time.
I liked
That was
that.
pretty
That was
lame.
good.
That was pretty lame for Worf, though.
No,
feel
I
like-
liked it.
But he's such a by-the-book Klingon that I wouldn't expect him to be like, I'm going to make up this bullshit. Plus, he always wants to murderate people for honor. I
That's
can't
true.
imagine
He
was
tried to
gonna give
murder
up that.
Kern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do the same thing you did for your brother to these people who are also like your family.
Yeah, but I guess he probably wouldn't because they assumed that they weren't going to die at that point because they had changed the plan to
Oh, that's a good point. That's true. That's very
to
true.
actually crash.
True.
Basically,
So they
Kira
did
said,
not get
"I'll
the
die."
warrior deaths that they wanted.
Yeah, a lot of pressure to put on Kira, though. Her scene over her own grave was interesting.
Yeah.
Because how many
Rough.
people get to do that?
Prophets must be really confused.
Prophets don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
They also
Yeah.
don't understand linear time.
As I
That's
say,
so-
the
true,
prophets
yeah.
would be totally fine with this. They'd be like, okay, Kira's here, and now she's over here. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
no
done.
problem.
Check.
Wasn't it, it was this episode, too, that O'Brien was like, I don't believe in your fucking prophets,
Yes.
Kira?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good
I
for
mean,
him.
however, this
Well,
would have
good
been
for him. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Jake.
I was just saying, this would have been a huge problem for the prophets losing the
the
emissary.
emissary.
That's
you
true.
know?
What were you going to say?
Just that O'Brien's an idiot to not believe in the prophets when there's literal proof that they exist.
Well, I mean, obviously they exist, but I think what he's just saying is he doesn't still believe they're gods, you know?
Right.
He just knows they're super powerful aliens, which he's met Q. This is normal for him.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the prophets and you know what you can see they are they're just aliens. They're not gods. Everything that they've been sending you has a reasonable reason why it's happening. Whilst all the Bajorans are like, but they're God.
And I mean, you could see why people would think they're gods. He just chooses, like, yeah, it's like, no, I've met this fucker and Nagilum and Q and fucking, you ever read about Trelane? Magic aliens are a dime a fucking dozen.
In Greece, they believed in Apollo and they were just aliens.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Kira, we also know that she and Shakar broke up.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
basically because they asked a fortune teller. Now that was stupid. But also very in line with Bajoran faith.
Yeah,
Well,
and also because
Kira,
the
too,
writers,
'cause
also because the writers had run out of things to do with him, and they realized this is more work than it's worth.
No, also, if they're going to try to do a Odo Kira thing, then, they kind of need to get Shakar out of the way.
Oh, but they didn't want to. They were not at all interested in doing an Odo Kira thing. And the writer who, had been hanging on to this idea since the collaborator in season 2 brings it to them. And Ron Moore's like, this is a great idea and all, but, we're not going to run with the Kira romance thing because we're not interested in that. But we'll give you a chance anyway. And then they read it and they liked it and all this stuff. But apparently both the Na Visitor and Rene Aubergenois weren't fans of the romance.
Really?
Yeah. They thought it would be more interesting just to remain friends.
disagree.
Sorry, Nana, you're off the podcast.
I don't know. Well, especially like the foundations for any kind of relationship that are laid in this episode, I think are kind of shitty because Oldo lies to her. Well, not really lies, but
Genocides.
genocides,
for her.
and
But it's not.
Yeah, but it kind of is.
I don't know. I don't believe it.
he knows that she specifically wants to go back in time and die. Like, he knows that that's what she's chosen to do. So he selfishly changes things so that he can get his dick wet. Hopefully.
I don't know if I agree with that
He
assessment.
specifically
of the
goes against
situation.
what she has said that she wants to do.
I do like, though, that, in that final scene, Odo is, like, super specific about separating himself from Oldo.
Yeah.
Like, he did this. He did him.
Yeah,
Like, ooh, 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 ooh.
Oh, what an asshole that guy was, huh?
What a prick.
Did you
Now
see
I
that
really
hair?
want, you know that meme that's been going around with the Game of Thrones and like it's the really old woman and it's like, tell
Oh,
yeah.
Cersei I want her to know it was me. I definitely want like an
Oldo.
Oldo that's like, tell Kira I want her to know it was me.
Accurate.
Do you have any Photoshop skills, Jake?
Nope.
Damn it.
Liz has fucked with it a little in the past. She might be able to
Oh
help
yeah,
him.
I can ask Liz. Okay, good idea.
But yeah, no, it's a really, again, aside from that slightly too long planting scene, a really good episode. This is one I actually remembered really well going into it.
Oh my god, there was a moment I didn't realize. I wrote down this note because I liked it, and then I realized now, looking back at it, it's actually a microcosm for the whole fucking episode. Is that Miles is making a dollhouse for the children things. I think it's Miles. I assume it's Miles. And he says, "Oh, but it's so hard getting the furniture right because you even with a micro lathe, it's hard to get the furniture to have the right details and rah rah. So I guess they're gonna have to rough it for a while." And that's exactly what happens on this planet.
Yeah.
Should have brought his micro lathe.
Hey.
Should've.
Or,
I just liked
should have
that
had a fucking
detail.
replicator, huh? I said, should have just used the fucking replicator to make
the furniture.
The other problem really with this becomes like there's so much, like, say they had gone through with crashing successfully. There was so much predestination paradox involved at that point because they'd been told so much. Like, oh yeah, you fuck this one and you fuck that one and this happens, and it's like, maybe you should have left the early days vague for them. Because if anything, you're like potentially making things worse by giving them that much detail.
Well, so speaking of the predestination paradox, is it possible that the fake plan, the Yedrin Dax plan, actually ended up somehow working and a version of the ship did crash?
I
But
mean,
there's
No,
no-
because they
there's
scanned
no-
for life signs,
Yeah.
didn't they?
Yeah,
It was
but
all gone.
maybe you can't detect life signs from outside of the energy field.
Well, that's a good point because it is. There are weird properties to it.
I mean,
maybe they only see, because it talks about how the ship would split into two quantum realities, one in the past and one in the present. So maybe you can't scan across those realities. Maybe maybe it's a forking of the timelines.
Oh, the timelines are forked, all right.
yeah, I was about to say,
Hey.
like, you could maybe argue that there's a split timeline now, and there is some reality where they all exist.
I mean,
but
you
who
look at
knows?
Parallels, the Worf episode
Yeah.
from TNG. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, just by virtue of them even being able to talk to them, to interact with them, means that they did exist, right?
Well, that's Caitlin. You had that. Like, you're talking about how can they remember them at all, even?
I
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean,
Kirk remembers things from the Guardian of Forever and all that shit.
Yeah, but I expect more from newer Trek in terms of like actually bearing out the science fiction properties and principles.
I don't
with the
know. If
Guardian-
wishes were horses.
Yeah. With the Guardian, you also have the excuse of, like, maybe it makes it so you can remember because it's the Guardian, this inexplicable, speaking of almost godlike technology thing.
Well, the Guardian, and from other Trek, we know that the Guardian is basically just magic. So,
Yeah.
But it does just feel like they shouldn't remember anything from it just because, like, they don't exist, so it shouldn't.
yeah.
I mean, time has passed. If they had just left and it all, gone fine, they still have that 2 days where something happened.
Yeah. Well, so
Well,
here's
but
gonna
do
be
they?
here's gonna be my theory, right? Is that the Defiant actually did fully split when they went into the planet, when they went to the planet. Like Kira, we saw her split,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna say that the whole Defiant split. One of the Defiants crash landed 200 years in the past, and the other Defiant, or I guess no, that wouldn't work. Yeah, one Defiant went to a planet in the present, but that did not have a civilization on it. That Defiant left, crashed into the barrier, and went back 200 years. So I'm going to say that because we know that I think we can assume that the settlers that we see are not descended. Well, we know that they're not descended from the crew that we see because the crew that we see leaves. So who are they descended from? We don't know.
I don't agree with most of this. I think because the crew because the descendants of the crew on the planet specifically say it was 2 days after. So unless they're just lying about that, they would know what happened in those 2 days.
No, yeah. Okay, I'm revising it.
Okay.
Okay, so the Defiant flies into the planet. It splits in two. Okay? One of them goes to the planet as we see it at the start of the episode with no civilizations on it, no population. It gets stuck there for 2 days. O'Brien fixes the ship. They try to leave. They get bounced back 200 years, start a civilization. The other Defiant, that split on the way in, goes to the result of that universe with the civilizations, has 2 days of fun and adventure, leaves, and kills the inhabitants, or thinks they kills the inhabitants of the planet.
But they've actually just gone to their own reality.
They've just gone back to their own universe.
That's possible.
I feel like they would be able to like pick up the life signs on the planet from where they were, though, because they could find them on their way in.
Well, no, did they? Because they were hailed.
No, they only found them after they passed through the barrier.
Well, yeah, and I think where did Jadzia pick up the no life signs on the way out? Were they already through the barrier?
Yeah, they were already out of the barrier.
Well, I think so, because the barrier was
what they had to get through
to not get crashed back on the planet, right?
So would it have just been like even worse? Like not worse, but like just sort of even more like as the audience, just sort of sadder if
we never knew
the crew didn't remember. Like they was like,
oh,
they like look, they're like 2 days has passed. Does anyone know what happened? And they're like, eh. And so like
they'd have to start looking for clues.
Oh God, that's right. That was an episode. But like
Odo will never express his boner.
But, like, yeah, it's like, you know, dramatic irony. We as the audience know what happened, but...
I feel like, don't they do that in certain episodes?
Yeah, I mean, like yesterday's Enterprise.
Yeah, or Clues, like you said. Which they,
yeah, but Clues was a specific thing.
Voyager
like, they had their memories wiped, specifically.
Voyager does something similar at one point.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Year in Hell is like
I think it also could be interesting if...
Well, I wasn't even thinking of that. There's something else.
If they made what Jake is saying more tangible and actually like be like, they don't know if it worked or not.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if Jake is saying like, we don't know if the fact that we're not picking up life signs is because we're too far away and the barrier is interacting in a certain way, or it's because they are actually not there.
That's the thing. Like, even if the plan had been doable, like if New Dax hadn't been lying, like, you don't know going into the barrier what your perception will be. Like, your perception's going to split, I guess, but, like, as far, you know, there is a crew that, as far as they're concerned, does crash land, and then there's a crew that's, as far as they're concerned, doesn't. It's all very...
Is the phenomenon on this planet the same thing as the phenomenon on the planet where Tom Riker was marooned?
I made that Riker joke. Like, this could be the two Rikers.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was. Like with him, it was a transporter malfunction having.
No,
to do
it wasn't.
With...
It was because of the storm. There was a ion storm on the planet. It wasn't a transporter malfunction. It was
right,
but the transporter beam got reflected back.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
So it could be a similar phenomenon.
Wasn't it an ion storm though that sent them to the mirror universe the first time?
I do not remember.
But also, we don't know
always an eye on something.
Yedrin may have just been making this up too, because Jadzia eventually realizes Yedrin's plan won't work.
Right.
So it could also just be bullshit because Yedrin wanted to live.
Yeah.
In fact, in the original script, it was him that did the sabotaging of the autopilot so that the Defiant would get away. But then they decided, no, let's make it Odo because we got to up these stakes.
Let's make it Odo pilot.
It took me a second. I get it. And I hate you. And I love you.
Thank you.
Okay, alternate theory.
Oh, God, more theories. Jesus Christ.
Alternate theory.
This is too much.
This is an episode that begs for theories, so
the whole story is bullshit.
Okay.
100%. Yedrin is another alien like Jean-Luc from Future Imperfect. And
the little boy.
The little boy. And he's just been stuck on this planet, but he has a lot of hollow emitters to play with. So he's like, ooh, a ship.
Cute. Very cute.
That is the least likely, but I also enjoy it.
The least likely, therefore,
he just wants
true.
friends.
I have one more note I wanted to mention, and that's that Odo's stasis chamber, since Odo was just, a pile of soap all episode long, was actually a bread maker that they redressed for the show.
Nice.
Was
I
it
can
still
see
able
that.
to make bread afterwards?
I doubt it, because they, removed bits of it to make it, Odo
that's-
applicable.
That's sad.
I mean, there's not all that much to a bread maker, though. It's like, it's a hot pot. It's like, it's basically like a instant pot, but with a turny bit at the bottom to do stirring.
It stirs? I didn't know it stirred.
Yeah, it makes
Yep.
you just put
That's
the
the
ingredients
machine
in, and then
part.
then it
Otherwise, it would
stirs
just
it up,
be
makes
like a bread
the
oven.
dough.
Ah.
My stepdad used to make a lot of bread in his bread maker. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think Nate had a bread maker that he got from somebody for free. Played with it for a bit. It made pretty decent bread.
Nice.
I think it's amazing that we've come this far in Deep Space Nine that now when Nog shows up, I cheer with delight.
We're moving on to Blaze of Glory.
It's a good arc.
Wait, was he not in this?
No,
No.
he's just in Blaze of
Oh,
Glory.
okay, I had it backwards.
Which, in Blaze of Glory,
Oh, yeah.
let's do the B plot first, because it's short, like
And
Nog.
Oh,
unnecessary.
so short.
So Nog is working security.
Also just like Nog games?
No, I think I like Nog,
I love
but we'll talk about this.
Okay.
Nog, as part of his internship, is working security, and he is annoyed that the Klingons don't show him respect. Picard? Jesus, no.
Picard.
Cisco is all like, well, just, challenge them, because Klingons are into that shit. And Nog is like, okie dokie. And then Martok walks in, and he's like, look here, you! And Cisco's like, too soon. And eventually, after falling off a chair, he stands up to the Klingons, and Martok's like, you got balls, kid. And they're friends. B-plot done. A-plot. Martok walks in, and is all like, hey, so we intercepted this communication. It's from the Maquis. And it's like, hi, Michael, we launched the missiles. And Martok's like, so we might not have mentioned that we were kind of working with the Maquis when we were at war with the Cardassians.
Wow.
And we kind of sort of gave them a bunch of cloaking devices.
Wow.
And Cisco's all...
And a lot of them. It was like
Yeah.
48 or something.
And Cisco's
it was
like-
a huge amount of cloaking devices.
Cisco's like, so you're telling me they might have just launched a bunch of cloaked
Missiles.
doomsday weapons at Cardassia, which would totally piss off the Dominion, who will probably wipe out the Alpha Quadrant. And Martok's like, yeah, pretty much.
And then he
And
did jazz hands and said, I call it the aristocrats.
And Cisco's like, motherfucker. And he's like, well, let's go look for him. And they go in the Defiant, but then it's like, oh, wait, MacGuffin time. The warp engines of the Defiant are too powerful, so it negates the usefulness of the cloak, and we have to run from the Jem'Hadar, and yada yada.
It's
and
like a certain kind of
basically-
mastodon.
Yes, exactly. So Cisco's like, oh god, are we doing this? Ugh. And he goes to see Eddington in prison.
Yay!
And he's all, you're gonna help me find these weapons, because I think at the end of the day, you'd be really bummed if you caused a war that destroyed the Alpha Quadrant. And Eddington's like, I don't wanna! I'm gonna stay here and get killed by the Dominion! You're a bitch! And then Cisco takes him anyway, and they go on an adventure through the Badlands to try to find the Maquis and their launch site so they can send the kill code to the missiles. They finally, after some misadventure, they get there, and the planet's loaded down with some Jem'Hadar and a bunch of dead Maquis,
Whoops.
and Eddington is sad.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
And
of
they
dead
kill so many Jem'Hadar, and then they find some surviving Maquis, and Cisco's like, where are the goddamn missiles, Michael? And Michael's all, you stupid bastard, I played you one last time.
So good.
That message just meant we were at the fallback point and we need rescue. We
so
totally
proud.
knew you would pull this bullshit.
So proud of Eddington.
Oh. And Cisco's like, you. Ooh. And so, they take what Maquis are still alive. Eddington dies gloriously in battle, protecting.
In a blaze of glory?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right, the title. protecting, his few remaining friends and
including his wife.
His wife, yes, who he'd married apparently 2 weeks before he was arrested. And that's basically it. One last big bamboozle from Eddington.
Wow, they were married
Brilliant.
two weeks. He went to jail, and then he died, and she's stuck with the funeral arrangement costs. What a bunch of bullshit.
I doubt a funeral costs much in the future.
I'm angry funerals cost so much these days.
She's also
ridiculous.
She's going to jail too, though. So
are they, or are they letting them go?
Like at this
would they let
point,
them
what's
go?
the point?
I mean, they're all. I don't know. I don't think the Federation is just going to be like, yeah, bygones be bygones.
It's unclear what is becoming of the Maquis because I guess Ira Stephen Bear and the writers said we have way too many plots going on right now. We have to end one of them. How about the Maquis? We're just going to wrap it up and never talk about them ever again.
Which, I mean, makes the most sense because, realistically, now that the Cardassians are working with the Dominion, the Maquis are not going to last.
Mm. They originally wanted to specifically kill off every single one of them, which I don't know how I feel about.
That would have been bleak.
Well, they killed off all except for this group of, 20 of them or whatever.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I thought the implication was that they are now in jail, in Federation jail.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, they definitely implied, who knows, maybe there's some cells out there still, but we're probably never going to see them again.
Yeah, they specifically didn't do the let's kill off every single one of them and make it clear that that's what happened, because they realized, well, just in case we need, some Maquis stuff to happen for Voyager in the future, we at least want to leave that open as a possibility.
That makes sense. Wait, so is Voyager contemporaneous with Deep Space Nine?
They overlapped a little.
No, I know they were released at the same time, but I guess
in World 2.
Oh,
that's what I meant. Okay.
Yeah, it actually, I mean...
But they're in, the Delta Quadrant?
Yes. Yeah. But the whole plot is actually, technically, spoiler alert for the first 5 minutes of the first episode. The plot is kicked off because Voyager is chasing after some Maquis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Good times.
Neat.
But yeah,
it was only supposed to be a 3-hour tour.
Yep. But it was, nice to see Eddington again.
Oh, he did a great job this episode. I was so happy with the various things that Ken Marshall did because he was he was Shakespearean the whole episode long, but in a way that wasn't really distracting because he's just bitter about this whole thing.
Yeah.
He's Maquis through and through. I was so proud of all the little subterfuges and things, and also his sass factor that I'm so I stand by my putting him on my ideal bridge crew in security.
Oh yeah,
now.
totally.
No, he's so fucking punchable though.
That's fine.
God.
Yeah, no, and that's part
true.
Part of what makes him a fun enemy.
Yeah, but I the actor did a great job at making me hate him. Even
that's perfect.
He's just really smarmy. He's
just
a smarmy little
just smug.
I mean, the thing is, with the exception of getting caught that last episode, he has won most of his encounters with Sisko. He's kind of earned it. He won this time even, save getting killed.
Yeah, and I feel like oftentimes he kind of has the right to be smug.
Save getting killed.
Just because of the relationship that the Federation and the Maquis have, where the Federation wants to kill everyone in the Maquis, even though they basically caused the Maquis.
Oh, yeah.
It's a weird relationship. So the fact that they wanted to wrap it up by killing them all, would have been, wouldn't have sat with me, I don't think.
Yeah, the Maquis is the child that the Federation is embarrassed it has. They're the one they don't invite to Thanksgiving, but then they show up anyway, and you're like, oh, God.
And they curse your child to prick their finger on a spinning wheel or something.
Ooh. Yeah, one thing that Eddington does say is, as they're flying around, and he says, I intend to kill you at the end of all of this, Sisko, and I thought that was a little bit personal, and that was a little bit out of character.
I don't know that I necessarily believed it either.
Okay.
Especially because at that point, he was still acting like there were missiles out there and shit. So you really don't, up until the reveal, how much of that is just for the sake of keeping Sisko angry and focused on the fake mission and all this other stuff.
Yeah. As I said, he's a great Iago.
Yeah,
and
no, he's really just I almost wish he hadn't died just so they could bring him back in one of the new shows.
Oh, yay.
Also, this is kind of their first really and only extended interaction since his heel turn. Like I said during the last one where they had the hollow communicator.
Mm-hmm.
It was dumb, but it was also nice to actually have Kenneth Marshall on set because you feel like it helped their interactions.
Yeah.
But having them actually like just in a space together where they could both move around and be real actors and stuff, like you can see just how well those two actors worked off each other.
Oh yeah, they had great chemistry, and they made what was effectively like it was the two of them talking for most of the episode, which it didn't end up destroying the pace as much as I thought it destroyed the pace whenever we flipped to anything on the station, and I felt like I was whiplashed a little bit because we have this story of how Morn went nuts and like ran into the Bajoran temple naked and screaming.
Oh yeah.
But it's just them telling us a story for like 10 fucking minutes. And it was just so snail pace and so uninteresting to me that I would rather watch Sisko and Eddington play checkers than this.
Well, I'm glad I am glad they didn't do that because one trope I think should be outlawed by The Hague is enemies playing chess or checkers. We get it. It's symbolism. It's done.
Okay, they can play what Data and the not Pakled,
Stratagema.
Zakdorn, yeah, and the Zakdorn guy played.
No, they should play Tiddlywinks.
Gross.
It's fun to say.
No, that's what Julian plays with his descendants.
No.
Yikes.
Yeah. Overall, I thought the B plot didn't really hold up to the A plot, though, because the A plot was very serious, had a lot of very dire consequences.
Yeah.
We watched Eddington die with a smile on his face because he knows he's like saved his friends and also got to have some great quips, which good for him. And then we flip right to, let's go to Nog having a great time with Klingons. And I was like, Jesus, what?
Yeah, it's a B plot that I think was fun, but should have been in a more lighthearted episode overall.
Agreed.
Especially because, like, again, until the reveal, as far as we know, they're trying to avert doomsday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'll admit, it never even occurred to me to question, wait a minute, is this actually a blind? Even though it should have, because it's Eddington.
It's Eddington, and everything he does is sabotage, and I love it.
Well, also, like, you have to, like, the one thing that occurred to me early in the episode was that the message is specifically addressed to Eddington.
To Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
It could have been
Jake and I
Michael
had
Burnham.
Tell them our reaction when that happened, Jake, because it was amazing.
I was going to say, yeah, so the message came through, and it was actually intended for Michael Burnham, because as everyone knows, Michael Burnham is the only person who can solve this problem.
Yeah, which Jake and I said at the same time, almost verbatim, and it was hilarious.
See,
I did think of Michael Burnham, but I think I was the one that was like, "Oh, is that Eddington?"
Yeah,
I wasn't sure. I wasn't certain if that was his first name or not.
Yeah, Caitlin went, is that Eddington? It was like, I don't know his first name. And I looked him up and it's like, oh, probably yes. Because, he's Michael Eddington. That's who it turned out to be.
So the Maquis either don't know that he's in jail, or they
must know.
Well, of course they do. Like, well, that's the thing that didn't make sense to me, was like, well, why would they send this message when they know it's not going to get to him?
They could, like, the Federation could also assume it was a message that's sent automatically at a certain time, maybe, and it was programmed months ago.
No, I think it's because they knew full well what would happen. They knew that, like, the Federation would go, shit, missiles.
I see, yeah.
Well, we have to go to the one person who might be able to point us in the right direction.
But
it was the kind of thing that...
I feel like they took a lot of chances there, right? Because A, the message was encrypted. It doesn't sound like it was too hard to break the encryption.
Nope.
Also, it
the
wasn't even...
Klingons decrypted it. It was
wasn't
not hard.
even received by the Federation. It was received by the Klingons. So
right, but who they know have a presence on DS9 now.
Yeah, I don't know.
So they're going to go straight to Sisko, who they know has a huge blind spot when it comes to Eddington.
Yeah.
I feel like they would have been served just as well if they just made like a direct broadcast somehow and just said,
we're launching
in
the
13
missiles.
days, Cardassia is going to be lit up by our missiles.
Well, see, but then it's everywhere, and then you've potentially got like everyone and their mother in the Badlands, including the Dominion, who they were hoping to avoid having there, in force, and potentially the Cardassians find you first and blow up your planet.
Yeah, well, they did find them first.
Well, yes, but
they did, and they blew up most of them.
Yeah.
Yes, and
So
that
the
was
plan still
unfortunate.
didn't work.
But
The
it,
Maquis plans are a little bit like Cardassian plans, where you kind of need every single domino to fall in a very certain way for them to work.
the Marquis plans are Eddington's plans, which are a lot like Cardassian
Yeah.
plans.
Like, I love that, Sisko asks Eddington, like, so all of this was a ruse. All of this was you just baiting me and, like pulling the puppet strings like you're wont to do. What would you have done if I hadn't taken you along? And he's like, I don't
I'd
know.
have volunteered.
Maybe volunteer.
So also, what's the fucking deal? So runabouts have Jeffries tubes?
Yeah, we were talking about that. It's like,
Huh.
that seems a bit much. Like, you think it would just have stuff in
a
panels.
panel.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a panel you can open up.
It's already so small, you don't need a Jeffries tube.
And it wasn't like a short
they
Jeffries tube. It was like a fairly long
Yeah,
thing that he had to climb down.
that was a little weird.
Yeah, but it adds to like the tense.
No, I know.
Yeah, he had to like
It's all
be in an
claustrophobic
uncomfortable
and-
place.
Bash his
When
head
the ship
open.
got rocked, he smashed his face.
I was
Okay.
disappointed to not get a single Jean Valjean reference.
I don't know. When
And I
he-
ask you, if we had, would Nog's B plot have been more welcome?
No.
No, fair
Because
enough.
a reference is fine. Like, a reference doesn't destroy the tone of a show like the B-plot destroyed the tone
I
of
don't
the
know.
show.
That
I
last
w-
episode where he said it like 43 times, it was like, okay, we fucking
Javert.
get it, stop.
At
I
the-
was worried when he was talking about a song. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah,
oh god,
yep.
they didn't license something from Les Mis, did
He
they?
starts singing the prostitute song, Lovely Ladies.
That's, wow. Good choice.
No, isn't that from the Jekyll and Hyde musical?
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
but there's
right.
a prostitute song in Jekyll and Hyde, right?
Yeah, the main girl has well, she has several, but it's either Bring On the Men or
Yes.
or Good and Evil. There was
Oh,
two of
actually, you know,
them,
I'm thinking
depending on-
that terrible Beach Girls song from
Yeah, nope,
Love Never
Lovely-
Dies.
Nope. Yep,
No,
that's called
Caitlin is
Bleeding
right, because
Beauty.
I watched that fucking musical for the uniform, for the cause, one of them.
Lovely ladies, me.
But yes, I was vaguely afraid he was about to burst into One Day More or something.
Yeah, he didn't sing anything, so I expected him to at least sing something. And his dying word, Rebecca, was both sweet and corny.
Yeah, but totally in character.
Yeah.
He
had
had
a good
just
death.
enough. He had just enough wherewithal to die in character.
Because Cisco let him die. Cisco,
Yeah.
you son of a bitch.
I could have done without the button.
The button with Cisco talking with Dax about
Yeah,
what they think
like-
of Eddington?
Yeah, it's like, we get it. Yes, thank you. Theme's clear. Fuck
We
off.
get it. Morally gray. Things are more difficult than you think.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Like, we already got that. You don't need to tell us
Well,
the lesson.
remember
Dax
that
had a thing for him.
some people are stupid and don't get things like that.
Would you have ended it right at Eddington's death, or... Because I certainly wouldn't have flipped back to Ferengi bullshit, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think, like, even if they'd had a conversation, but one that was less on the nose
Okay,
and
yeah.
telling us the moral, maybe?
That's where you put the Morn story.
Yeah.
No,
Or even
no.
just like, he's there and he's like, I'm writing my report and, it turns out maybe Eddington's parents or something are still alive. And it's like, what the hell do I tell them?
Mm.
And maybe, she's like, I don't know. And it just ends with him looking at his pad like, what do I tell them?
That could be interesting.
Not bad.
I had some interesting thoughts before I watched the episode. When I just read a very quick synopsis that mentioned like, oh yeah, we meet Eddington's wife, and for some reason it didn't click in my head reading just the synopsis that he met his wife in the Maquis. I thought,
Yeah.
oh man, if Eddington had his wife years prior from just knowing her in the Federation somewhere, did he drag a woman into the Maquis?
Hmm.
And then of course we learned that no, he met her in the Maquis and she's for the cause and all this thing.
Yeah.
But that would have been a different relationship.
Very. Very. And I'm glad it wasn't that way, because, I don't know, that would have, then you'd have to look at Eddington like, come on, dude, really? I think it would have made him less likable.
Yeah, already his likability is like, it swings on a curve from episode to episode.
Yeah, and it's based on how much you enjoy him as a sort of a lovable antagonist.
Yeah,
I do
remember
love to hate him.
when we first meet him and he's just, oh, we're mad at Eddington because he's taking Odo's job and we like Odo better because we've known him longer as a character. He's come a very long way and I've enjoyed watching his journey.
Yeah, like he like Jake said at the time, he was basically a carbon copy at first of
Primin.
what's his name there?
Yeah.
Primin, thank you. How do you remember that?
I have no idea. I forget everything else that's important in my life, but Primin I remember.
Chris says stuff like that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a really, especially because, like, this was, you know, one of the things from this show I didn't really remember super well. Like, I recalled vaguely that he ended up being a turncoat, but I forgot that there was, like, more to his arc after that there was the whole thing, and he's a really interesting character.
Yeah. And it makes you, like, see, like, the morality. I said that weird because I didn't know I forgot what the ending of Moral was. The morality of Eddington is a very specific type of morality. I think at one point, Sisko's like, when they're flying around, he says, but you're still a Starfleet officer at heart, so you'll do the right thing. And I'm like, he's not. He's very not.
I mean, I think as to what Sisko was specifically saying at the time, like, yeah, he's not really a Starfleet officer at heart at this point, but I think he's not... If what he thought was happening was actually happening, and that the remaining Maquis had launched a doomsday weapons at Cardassia, like, I think Eddington would be actually reticent to be responsible for kicking off a war that could potentially wipe out the Alpha Quadrant. Like, I think that much is true.
Yeah, but I feel
Again,
like
it just turns out that's not what was happening.
Those are still Maquis morals that aren't necessarily the same as Starfleet morals.
No, that is true. I think Sisko's justification for it was incorrect, but his reading of... I think his reasoning... Like, he got the right answer, just his course there wasn't necessarily right.
Unlike Oldo, I want to call him Burnham again, god damn it, Eddington. Fuck my life. Eddington doesn't commit genocide.
True. But yeah, you were talking about Eddington's morality, and what's fascinating with Eddington is like he has a moral code, but there's also this, again, like we been saying, like he does overlay this sort of theatrical quality. Like, he definitely does, like they said in his last appearance, like, think of himself in a very literary way. There's something kind of very self-consciously artificial about who he is. He
is trying to be Valjean instead of just living his life.
Yeah, he's a romantic hero.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to wonder sort of what compels him to add this to himself. You know, it's not just enough to be... Because I think, you know, we've said it before, like, the Maquis have a lot of good points, and you can totally see wanting to kind of be on their side. Is it because he's found himself in the position of leader that he feels he needs to add on this unnatural element?
I mean, he's also in the position of someone who left Starfleet for this cause. So I think he also thinks of himself as that kind of like that grandiose, very public-facing morality of, I made this choice.
Yeah. Although, as we know, that's not super uncommon in the Maquis. They even mentioned Cal, who we haven't heard from since he left. Turns out he's dead.
Yep. We fridged Cal.
Yep. Like, we know that, not loads, but we know of at least 3. Him, Ro, Cal. There's definitely others. In the episode where Ro left. Oh, right.
Oh, yeah,
Double
Tom
Riker.
Riker, too, and then didn't Sisko had a friend as well?
Yeah, Cal.
Oh, that's Cal.
Yep.
Sorry.
And, you know, in the episode where Ro left, they mentioned a handful of others. So I like, leaving Starfleet for the Maquis isn't necessarily super uncommon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if that's sort of like, could he have lived if he wasn't so in love with the idea of himself as a romantic hero? You know, would he have found a way out of that shitty situation at the end?
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, he specifically says, you know, no... what's her name? Rebecca. Go on without me. Sisko, go on without me. Only one of us will return alive. Yeah. Instead of just fleeing with them, which he just could have done.
Yeah.
They could have just shut the door and been like, all right, stay here, Jem'Hadar. We're heading out. Bye.
Overload a phaser, drop it, shut the door, and run. We've done this before. It'd be interesting that sort of his Achilles heel was his theatricality.
Yeah, I did love the scene where Sisko and Eddington are hiding behind some barrels as the Jem'Hadar are wandering through the fog. And Sisko says, I'll be the one holding the pipe. And Eddington gives some kind of sass to that, which I was happy with. And then he shot the one who was still standing up, saying like, oh yeah, obviously the one who's still standing up would be the Jem'Hadar, which was exactly Spock's plan in Whom Gods Destroy when there were 2 Kirks running around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you phaser the one that's still standing up.
Yeah.
Gee, thanks, Spock.
I also did like when Cisco just kind of shot into thin air and got a couple of Jem'Hadar.
Ooh, that was
Yeah,
good.
they were
it was
invisible.
like a friggin' Rambo
Yeah,
those guys.
but anything goes. I'm glad one of us remembered they could do that, because I had forgotten too.
I had to, and
was
I
like,
actually said right before.
Totally forgot they do that.
Yeah, I think that was a little wink to the audience in a way.
Yeah.
He said, oh yeah, we keep forgetting to show you guys that they do this.
Yep. So that was a nice little thing. Oh yeah, because
Yeah,
that was a
I
very
liked that.
meta moment. Like, because yeah, again, he said that, and I went, yeah, so did I. Jesus. Because it's kind of been a while since they were in a situation where they needed to show that. Like, you know, there was no need, say, for any of the Jem'Hadar at the prison to ever be cloaked. Though really, things may have gone better for them if they'd had a cloaked Jem'Hadar just chilling out in people's cells.
Oh, that's a good point. Been able to see that Garrick's been entering the wall.
yeah.
Yeah, but the Jem'Hadar also, like, their cloak I don't think is perfect. Like, I think
No, true.
It's like the Predator kind of.
Yeah, if they move around too much, you start to see it.
Yeah.
Do you think
Also, you
there
can
might
probably
be
hear them
a-
farting and shit.
And their little Ketracel white thing going off.
Well, they don't fart, right? Probably because they don't eat,
That's true.
Good point. Sorry, you're going to say something, though.
and then probably don't poop. I was gonna ask if you guys thought that there was a Jem'Hadar hanging out cloaked in Quark's closet back home.
Ah, yes.
Yeah,
They
probably.
could be everywhere. So here's the things we have everywhere right now. We have folk from the mirror universe who could just be whoever.
Yep.
Changelings just could be whoever.
Oh, yeah.
And cloaked Jem'Hadar could be wherever the hell they want.
Yep.
He walks in and he's all Brunt FCI.
Phased Geordie and Roe could be someplace
Yep.
watching you masturbate.
And of course, everybody on the planet from Children of Time or whatever.
Also, just Vorta everywhere.
And Alexander Siddig's, Julian's sperm everywhere.
Oh, God.
Because
I mean, that's just everywhere on the station.
and all over the planet and near his entire family. Probably.
Never turn on a black light on DS9.
Good God.
Ooh.
But yeah, no, Vorta everywhere.
Why are there Vorta everywhere?
Because, no, not Vorta, shit.
Horta?
Horta, yes.
They do
Wait.
sound a lot alike.
I
Because-
still don't understand why you wouldn't notice Vorta everywhere.
No, I didn't mean Vorta, I meant Horta.
Well, no, I mean the same question.
Basically, I imagine, like, when that mass group hatched, Starfleet immediately sent a bunch of, like, people to recruit them to help them mine everywhere.
Yeah, but you'd know they were there, is what I'm saying.
Oh, that's a good point.
Oh, and tardigrades. They're everywhere, too.
That's true.
probably.
They're microscopic, though, so,
They're cute as fuck.
yeah.
Yay.
Microscopic is basically the same as invisible if you don't have a microscope.
True.
Saying.
They could-
There
I
could be-
almost said if you don't have a telescope, which is not right.
There could be one just kind of doodling across your nose right now. You'd have no idea.
Aw,
Oh,
cute.
I wish I would know. I think that would be delightful.
So do we have anything else on this?
We do have the one connecting thread of these two episodes, which apparently is farming, because we learn that Eddington has, I don't know how long he's been with the Maquis, but he's been with the Maquis long enough to grow a tomato plant.
Yeah.
Think he's made his own pizza yet?
Yes.
That's true. That's
Oh
what
my
you
god,
do.
Thomas Riker probably taught him.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. Never
Perfect.
see Thomas Riker again.
Yeah, no, I imagine now that
He's
the
in
Dominion...
jail, right?
What?
Isn't Tom Riker? He's in jail, right?
Well, he was in jail with the Cardis, so they probably just killed him now.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, almost
that's a good
certainly.
Now that the Dominion's there, they probably just
yeah.
fucking... He's a pile of goo in a cell.
Yuck.
Sorry, Kira.
Oh, that would have been a great thing to have in the prison episode, where it's like, okay, well, now that we're allied with the Cardassians, all the Cardassian prisoners can leave, and we're gonna bring in some new prisoners, and Tom Riker shows
That's
up.
funny.
That would have been fun.
That would have been awesome. He's so handsome. I have bad priorities.
I remember at the very beginning of I don't know if we were still watching TOS or it had started TNG, and you were like, no, Riker's not for me.
That's because he fucking didn't have the beard yet. As soon as he got the beard, I was... Well, no, actually, it took me a couple more years to get on board, but yeah.
He had to get the beard.
was definitely necessary.
Well, I think he had to get the better uniform, because no one looked good in that uniform.
Data looks
true.
great all the time.
That's true.
Fair enough.
She's correct.
You think they ever told William about Thomas?
Yes.
Like,
That
hey,
he's in jail?
yeah, just so you know, your doppelganger joined the Maquis, and now the Cardis have him.
Oh, yeah, he knows. He's happy about it.
True.
Now he gets Deanna
that
all to
guy.
himself.
Plus, like, Thomas might send him, like, letters.
Christmas cards.
What do you call it? License plates that he's made.
It means the Riker. The. Oh, no one who speaks German could be an evil man.
Oh.
That's one of my favorite Simpsons jokes.
Yeah. Boy.
Anyway, yeah. Anything else on this show?
It was a good week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
sounds
good week.
Yeah, I thought both of these were good.
Like, very different episodes, but good in their own specific ways.
Yeah, and we have
Yeah.
very little left of this season.
Yeah.
Only
I know, I
episodes
noticed that
left.
when we were watching. I was like, oh my god, it's almost done with season 5.
Speaking of, what's coming up next?
Well, next week, we'll be doing what we usually do. We talk about 2 more episodes of Deep Space Nine. They are Empok Nor and In the Cards. So if you liked what you heard today and you want to hear more, definitely subscribe so make sure you won't miss any future episodes. We're on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify,
Unlike the president.
Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. If you want to check us out in other media, whatever. Social media, Facebook. Look for a star to steer her by. It's not hard. You'll find us. Or you can find us at SSHB Podcast on Twitter and Tumblr, or sshbpodcast.com, where you can check out interesting articles, you can see our season wrap-ups, fan fiction, all kinds of good shit.
Ideal Bridge Cruise, of which Eddington is on there.
True.
Yeah, some whack job wrote him down.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Ames. And, yeah.
Can I do a
hopefully
couple
you'll
plugs? Can I do a couple plugs real quick?
Plug
Yeah.
it.
Because I've been busy. I've been busy this past week.
Plug it in, bitch.
I just guested on my very good friend Simon's animal-themed podcast, The Pod. That's PAWD space POD.
Well, that's delightful.
Where
That's
we
cute.
where we talked about jellyfish for this week. This
nice.
probably aired a little while ago because he didn't have as many episodes in the can as we have. But we talked about
suck
jellyfish,
on that, buddy.
and I
Oh, just kidding.
definitely mentioned the jellyfish from Encounter at Farpoint.
Perfect.
Nice.
But also, I know like last fucking summer, I was doing some plugging of my radio play Fine-Tuned Universe, a
Yes.
sci-fi show that takes place on the far side of the moon. And that is now up on probably all your favorite podcasting sites at this point. It's called
Nice.
Fine-Tuned
Oh, that's
Universe.
great.
You should check it out.
I'm in it.
Chris is in it. Jake directed it.
Yeah, it's
Caitlin
fun.
listened to
I-
it.
They didn't even ask me to be involved.
We knew
Oh,
better.
I did I was part of the table read,
That's true. Yeah, you
That's
gave
true.
some great
Yeah,
feedback.
yeah, you were. That's right.
so that's all right. I'm just kidding, by the way. I don't care.
Yeah, no.
I don't want you to think I was actually like, you fucking bitch.
Oh, I was Reese, right?
No.
No.
Who was I?
You were... I don't remember his name.
I was the engineer, but I can't remember
Pfeiffer.
his name now.
You were Pfeiffer.
Oh, yeah, Pfeiffer.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Gordon. That's right. I named him after Jordy.
That's right.
See Chris with a bag on his head. Oh, no, wait. It's not.
That
not,
was
not
the
on the
video
podcast.
version only.
JK. Well,
Have you
Sometimes
guys
them's
been
the breaks.
following this Memory Alpha drama?
no.
Wait,
what
what?
happened?
I heard they've already fixed it.
What
Well,
happened?
I don't think they
missed
fixed it so much as they avoided it. So Adira, the character from
Discovery.
is non-binary, right?
Yes.
And
And the actor is too, right?
I
Yes.
believe so. But on the page for the character on Memory Alpha, there's a gender like field in the side like the info box. So that it said female, and then in parentheses physiologically, and then
Oh.
and then it said non-binary, like self-identified. And of course that's fucked up. So a lot of people were like, okay, let's change that. But the admins kept changing
Well,
it back.
do
Well,
they
yeah,
mean assigned female at birth?
No,
And then
They were just being like,
they were being turfish,
assholes?
turfish
Well, that's
about
gross. I was trying to give them the
Jesus
benefit of the
it. Yeah,
doubt.
no,
Who the
but
fuck
no,
is
because there was like a
gatekeeping
huge,
Memory Alpha.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
no,
there was a
it-
huge
Fuck that.
fight in the thing. Like Anthony Rapp got involved and like messaged them.
Yay!
And so their solution now, as of today, when we're recording this, their solution is to just take the gender field off of all character pages.
See, I thought I'd heard they'd restored it and stopped fucking around, but I don't know.
No,
Again,
no.
if things are changing that much in one day, it's
The
possible.
the
That's
latest
fucking
as of right
stupid.
now is like they're like, all right, fine, we're just not going to list gender then.
Oh, you'll
Which is
show
like-
us, assholes.
Yeah, which is like, so rather than just acknowledging this person's identity, you're just gonna be like,
Take
well,
your ball and go home.
yeah, fuck it.
That's fine. Well, whoever's in charge is going to probably get ousted within the next couple months, and then someone else will come along and fix it.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's a lot of legitimate criticism you could have of Discovery, but the one thing you got to give it, it's like, man, we are gonna make this the queerest Star Trek we can this season. We are gonna try to make up for years of Rick Berman in one season, and I appreciate that. Just so we're clear, and it's really sad to see Memory Alpha not get on board.
On the other hand, though, not a huge surprise.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
no.
not surprising.
Not to
at
be
all,
an
though.
asshole, but I don't have the biggest amount of faith in my
I just don't get.
fellow nerds.
I don't get like how so many nerds grew up to be bullies.
Yeah.
Because
Fucking ridiculous.
the internet aided it.
No, I know exactly. It's terrible. I just thank God. I've always said this. Thank God I always got on better with women than men. I think just knowing and growing up with women as friends more often than guys is part of the reason I didn't go that route. Become a horrible little, like, sad internet.
That's
I don't
what
know.
you
I
said,
don't
Chris.
think you would have, though, because not only that, you're like one of the most feminist men I know.
Well, right, but I attribute that to the fact that I know women and am friends with them and can be friends with a woman without, like, I can be friends with women, Some men don't know how to do that.
How can you be friends with a woman without having sex with her?
Exactly.
Any woman that speaks to you obviously wants to have sex with you. And if she doesn't, fuck that bitch.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, that was a
Well, now I
personal
know how
tangent.
Jake feels about me, I guess.
We were trying to wrap up, and then I think we went some other direction.
A little bit.
It was a
Yeah.
good direction, though.
That was a parody of incels, by the way. I'm not actually an incel.
No, that's true.
Thank you for joining us. I have been Caitlin.
I have been Jake.
This has been Chris.
And this is always Ames.
Rule of acquisition number 94. Females and finances don't mix.
That's very appropriate.
Yeah, wow. What
Now
a
I feel like I have to keep that
coinkydink.
tangent in.
What a
Oh, well, you should
coinkydink.
anyway.
Females and finances shouldn't be fields on Memory Alpha, evidently.
Oh, God.
Yes, every
Good night,
character says what their
everybody.
finance status is. Broke.
Well, I'm glad Anthony Rapp got involved and
Anthony Rapp is awesome.
took care of
He
business.
is.